Hello, and welcome back. If you watched our previous video, you can see that I'm already done painting the differential and prepping it to get it ready for its new axle seals. So stay tuned and watch on through. Now, we're going to get into doing the CV axles tone rings too. Right now, I'm just cleaning up the surfaces. I'm using some parts cleaner and also using a wire brush and a soft nylon brush to clean it up at the end. Now, once you get all the grease and all the rust that you want to get off, there's any little bit of surface corrosion close to where your parts are going on. We want to make sure you clean that up beforehand. Test the fitment on your axle seal and see if that lines up. Alright, so I'm going to get out the original one that actually broke over time. And as you can see, the seal still is inside the differential very well. So we're going to pull on it very lightly so you don't scar the surface up. Now you could put a rag underneath there to catch any of that gear oil that might seep out at this point. If you have anything left in that differential, and most likely you will. At this time, make sure the diameter of your replacement seal is the same as your differential. There will be different parts that you can order online and different serial numbers, so make sure it's the exact one. As I'm doing here, it's just putting a little bit of the old gear oil on there just so I can test slide it on right here, and then I'll put fresh gear oil before I tap it on, but I want to make sure it's the correct diameter. As you can see here, it is. Alright, you're going to want to clean it very thoroughly. That way when you put the new seal in, there's no problems. Now this is the axle seal that I ordered. So if you're looking up the part number, this is the one I have. You can always look it up. And they have two different sizes, and this size did not fit. These were the original ones I ordered. So you have to make sure you will actually have the right ones. Here is the one I popped out of the differential that had that piece that was broken off of the actual seal itself. Now I know my reproduction seal is actually going to fit. It has the exact diameter and it's going to fit perfectly in the differential that we cleaned up and painted, and we're going to put it right back underneath this police package charger. Now it is a little bit of a mess on the floor because in the middle of multiple projects between painting the undercarriage areas to degreasing the undercarriage and the other areas, and then painting that area, and then getting the suspension ready and everything else ready for the differential to go back right in. And I'm making sure everything looks nice and clean and it can withstand and have some corrosion resistance over all the parts that are underneath there. Right now I'm trying to show you the gear oil that I'm using, and we're going to put it right on the seal, and it's going to help protect it and also slide right into the differential with no problems. Don't be shy about how much you put on there. That way you don't have a problem with it chafing or not sliding in correctly. And it's not going to just like pop in with your hand. You're going to want to use something to tap it in, which I'm using a piece of block and a hammer. And we're going to just tap it down slowly all the way around and make sure we can put as much even pressure on here. Now, if you don't like this method, you can do any other style that you would like. This is what I just did on my axle. So just take it with a grain of salt. I recommend trying it. If you don't want to try it, it's okay. It's your own vehicle. But right now, this is how I'm getting my seal in, especially with only certain tools I have in my garage. Alright, after taking your time and getting it on there, you'll see this is what it looks like. And we're going to do it for the other side now and get that all done too. Now, with it being freshly painted the differential for the last 24 hours, it did cure, but I was trying to protect the surface with this tape and rag on there. But now I just slid the rag over the top of it, and we're going to try and hit this off with the screwdriver on the metal part of the seal and see if we can get it loose out of this differential. And I'm using the rag to try to prevent the freshly painted surface from getting scratched up. I'm not using too much force. I'm kind of just hitting it very lightly with the hammer and making sure that it will actually pull this off of that area. As you can see, I finally got it to break free a little bit, and we're going to keep on working at it until it pops off. And of course, my camera died, but you want to just keep the actual process that I just showed you. I got the new battery in the camera again, and then we're going to do the same thing like we did for the other side with the seal. Put some fresh gear oil over it, and we're going to slide it in there. Don't worry about putting too much, and this way we can slide it back in and not worry about it actually ripping or anything else like that. And remember, don't forget to clean out that area so that when we put the new seal in, we don't have to worry about anything being stuck in there. Now you're going to hammer it on again with that block of wood and your hammer of choice. And remember, don't use too much pressure. And make sure you go around evenly, distributing the weight when you're hitting it. This way you're not just hitting in one side and creating a lopsided seal. And that way it's not forced in either or bends. You want to go in nice and square, that way we have no issues with leaks later, and you want to make sure that there's an adequate amount of pressure put on there, like I was saying, with not too much. That way you don't damage that seal and create a leak from hitting it too hard or making it lopsided like I was trying to express. Now this is what it looks like when both of them are back on there, and now we're going to prep our CV axles for their tone rings. Alright, as you can see here, the original ones are still on there. They're still in alright condition, but we're going to put on some brand new ones. That way there's still no issues later on when we go in there to work on the ABS system, knowing that this may be possibly an issue. We don't want to drop the axle just to replace these. Now I'm using a hammer and a screwdriver to chisel this off, and I'm going to make sure I don't damage the CV axle in the process. Now I'm rolling it around so I can actually chisel it off evenly all the way around it. Alright, I flipped the camera around so you can see how it looks taking off this tone ring once you actually chisel it off. I kept it together actually, it looks decent, but we're going to still put on a new one and make sure we clean up this area first. Now I'm going to hit it with a wire brush instead of just installing the new tone ring right away. And then we're going to clean it off with some parts cleaner or a degreaser of your choice. And then we're going to install those new tone rings. Alright, I'm going to spray some mild degreaser on the CV axle at this point, and then we're going to put some rust gel on that area, clean it up, and then we're going to make sure we paint that section, but not the area where the tone ring goes on. We're going to leave that bare metal, and then we're going to install the new tone ring. This way we have some light corrosion resistant material on there, and that'll be the paint. That'll kind of give a barrier between the bare metal and everything else, like the road salt and all the debris that comes up, because I use this as a daily driver, this charger. But is this no means a replacement for sandblasting? Now I'm using the degreaser at the same time with the wire brush. This way we can get any stubborn actual pieces of grease or anything else on there off before we install the new part. I just want to get cleaned up just enough so it's better than it was. Alright, I got a fresh coat of paint on there, and now we're all set and ready to go. I'm going to take off my painter's tape in a second, but like I said, I left the area where the tone ring goes on bare metal, and this way there's no issues with the ABS signal. Now, I ordered two new tone rings for the back CV axles, so right now we're going to get the brand new ones out and ready to go to install them on our axles. Alright, I'm going to hammer on my tone rings very lightly and make sure I go down on an even pattern as I'm using this soft hammer to make sure I can minimize the chances of damaging this tone ring. Right now I'm getting very light taps, like I said, to make sure it goes on evenly and make sure that you can get it nicely seated on that CV axle. What I was trying to do was put a little piece of wood underneath there, besides the one I'm actually using to hit it on. This way I can actually have it lifted in the air to CV axle and be able to tap it down. Now I'm removing the other side now. As you can see here, that's the last old one. And we're going to be replacing the other side now and replacing with a brand new one. Now we're going to repeat the process to clean it up again, just like we did with the other CV axle. Now, you put this in fast forward. This way you can still see the process of me cleaning up this axle area for the new tone ring. What I'm doing is using the heat gun to cure the paint a lot faster, and this way I can get onto my actual installation. Alright, I got the new tone ring on this axle, and now I'm going to move on to actually draining the differential of any residual fluids that are left inside it and topping it off. Alright, once the plug is loosened, we're going to see what the actual differential fluid looks like in there and the color of it. I don't know when the last time it's been serviced. I've only put about 10,000 miles on this charger since I've owned it. And now, as you can see here, the oil color is not that bad. There's no metal sparkles in it, but it is dark. Now what I'm going to do is put some thread sealant on there. This way when I do top it off, I'm going to give it time to cure obviously inside there before I top off this differential. But I do not want this to leak on me. This helps me guarantee there was no leaks, especially if those threads are a little worn out. This is the finished progress so far. If you continued onward with your own project, I give you a round of applause. And now we can get to putting on the rest of the parts that we need to do. And the next step is actually going to be installing those CV axles into the differential once again. So we're going to find where that has to line up inside that differential. As you can see here, we're going to make sure that the right side is on there for the passenger, and the left side is the driver's side. Alright, what you're going to want to do is pick it up nice and safely, and this way we can spin it around and get it inside that hole on the differential. We're going to put a little bit of gear oil on there. Now you can use the edge of your finger or a rag that's clean to help smear on that gear oil all the way around it. And if the rag is saturated with the gear oil, it'll actually spread on easier. But we're going to get that on inside of that differential in about a second and make sure that we can install this with no issues. Now I'm actually putting a little bit of gear oil on the actual seal itself too. And don't worry about putting a little bit too much here. This is just to make sure that when they mate on, there's no issues either. Alright, when you're ready and you think everything is lubricated enough, we're going to get this all ready to go and slide it inside there. And now, don't force it in. You're going to have to find right where it catches nice and evenly because it will pop in very easily. And if it doesn't go down all the way, make sure you keep spinning it or pull it back out a bit because it should seat all the way in correctly without forcing it. We finally completed it. We got some new differential seals in there, did our CV axles tone rings, we refilled our differential with some new fluid, we did a whole bunch of servicing on it, we painted those axles too, painted the differential, cleaned it all up, got it all sealed up, and it looks totally transformed from what it used to look like. I thank you guys all again for coming through and watching this video, and I hope you learned some tips on how to do your LX Charger, Magnum, and 300. Remember to check out some of my merch to help support this channel, and remember to like and subscribe to see more videos just like this. Everything helps build up this small channel as I'm saving up to open up a real restoration shop one day in the future. Thanks again, guys, and stay tuned for more.